Why should we strength train? Well, firstly, let's look at what strength is defined as and what it is. Strength is defined as the quality or state of being physically strong, which in turn can make our daily lives much easier, especially if we have physically demanding jobs. We can gain strength in a number of ways, the obvious being the gym, where we see people lifting heavy loads and making all sorts of weird noises. But some people also gain body strength for their daily jobs, for example construction workers, firefighters, farmers, athletes and even coaches. And you'll notice with these groups of people they tend to eat a lot, and as some would say, they get away with it, which basically means they never ever seem to gain much fat. But we'll come over to that shortly enough. Now if we look at strength training, this is defined as the performance of physical exercises which are designed to improve one's strength and endurance. Endurance being the ability of an organism to exert itself and remain active for long periods of time. Generally, the stronger we become, the more physically able we are throughout the day. And hopefully you're noticing some reoccurrences here. But the question still stands. Why should we strength training? Especially if my job isn't even physically demanding. Now, if you think back to how physically demanding our jobs were, even as late as the mid-20th century, where we were performing jobs in mines, factories, we were farming more, we were building without as much machinery, and we were in quarries. And then you compare that to the average job of today, where we mostly sit in an office, we walk less due to cars, and we don't really challenge our bodies due to the convenience of 21st century life. Then you would be able to notice how physically weak we are compared to that of our ancestors. Remember, I've said in previous presentations how if we move less, we burn less energy. Therefore, any additional energy consumed will all be stored as fat for another day. And if we continue living in convenience and don't really test our bodies, then we're not doing what the human body was designed to do, which is to adapt to various environmental conditions and evolve to help the next generation. So the stronger and more physically able we are, the better for our offspring, as well as our own personal health. So linking back to the present day, we know that we're eating a lot more readily available food than before, and we're moving less due to the convenience of 21st century life. Consequently, we're not pushing our bodies to physically adapt to our current environmental conditions. The implications of this are as follows: obesity, diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, metabolic syndrome, depression, and much more. So if none of the above can persuade you to move more, then do it for your children or your unborn child. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. Which still leads to the question, why strength training? Now luckily for us, research and science has proven that strength training can and will improve several aspects of our lives. It can help increase strength, which is linked to an increase in metabolism. We can improve bone mineral density, so bones won't be as brittle and easy to break. We can help increase insulin sensitivity, where poor insulin sensitivity is linked to obesity and diabetes. We also have improved posture, less aches and pains, decreased fat, and then we can lower the risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic syndrome. And then you might be thinking, but can't I achieve this with circuit training, cardio, or even sports? Simple answer is yes, but with sports we have a much higher potential of causing injury, which we see consistently with injuries such as the ankles, the knees, the hips, lower back pain, shoulders and elbows. But simply putting a strength and conditioning program together, it would help a lot of these sportsmen from these troubles. And then with cardio, it generally doesn't build much bodily strength, therefore we don't build much muscle, which can protect the body but also generate a higher metabolic rate. And then lastly with circuit training, which is very physically demanding for what it is. Technique can go downhill, therefore injuries are more likely. And then the stress you put on your body could be too much over the week. And if you consistently push your bodies to fatigue and failure, this will not automatically mean your body will adapt and build to become fitter and stronger for the next time. Rest and recovery is massively important. Don't forget this. If you do complete circuit training on consecutive days, focus on a change of intensity and use different muscle groups to allow for as much recovery time as possible. Some other issues associated with circuit training would be it's quite problematic if you have a heart condition, or if you have problems with fatigue. I'll always advise low intensity training and then focus on your strength, technique and range of movement. And then if the circuit training is quite high impact and you have issues such as arthritis, it's going to feel very painful. Again, advise to build up strength first instead of putting high impact on the joints and then slowly build into it. And if you have quite a stressful life or job where your cortisol levels are already quite high, which you might not even notice, and then you're going to try and complete 3 to 5 hard circuit sessions a week, your cortisol levels are going to be through the roof, and your weight loss is going to take a massive hit while reducing your protein synthesis, which will lower the build-up of muscle and strength increases. Moving on a little, have a little think to yourselves as to the amount of people you see kill themselves week in and week out doing circuit type training and cardio, and then compare these people to those who complete strength training. People who constantly circuit train tend to be in and out of injuries. Once you've established an injury, I'm sorry, but you never fully recover from this unless you put together a decent strength and rehab program together. And then the people who strength train, they seem to do much less work but reap high rewards. And I can guarantee you will know someone who is overweight, smashing loads of circuits, who just doesn't seem to be losing any weight. And you'll probably blame the diet, but that's not always the case. The hormones will be out, the cortisol levels will be high, and this type of circuit training will only add to their problems. Again, I would advise strength training and a controlled program. Let's start with muscular injuries. People will seem scared and shocked when I say we're going to start loading the muscles up to build up strength. Of course, we're going to follow a program and incrementally do this, but the stronger the muscle is, the lower the risk of injury. Additionally, sometimes we pull a muscle because it's already in an overstretched position. In this case, we will focus more on the opposing muscle group and build up their strength too, whilst trying to generate the best range of motion possible at the joint. Once the pain is gone and the strength has been built, this will not automatically mean you can carry on as normal and continue as you once did. The best thing to do is continue your strength training program, as well as build up the strength in and around the whole body to minimise any injuries from occurring in the future. I also spoke about becoming metabolically stronger. We all know the more muscle we have, the more energy we'll burn. The best way to build up muscle is to complete a strength and hypertrophy program. But this isn't to say we can't build up muscle elsewhere, but to maximise muscle build and therefore higher calorie output, let's really focus on building up as much lean muscle mass as possible. And then when it comes to how physically demanding the strength training is, yes, it's demanding, but only in short bursts, almost like your interval and HIIT training. Except here, you're pushing out your maximum force X amount of reps and challenging your muscular strength and endurance, followed by a rest to replenish energy. Every person I've trained in strength has always noticed the differences in their cardiovascular fitness and circuit type training from the strength training programs. You may have a minute or so of maximum explosion control, followed by a minute or so of rest. Honestly, it's a no-brainer. But now moving on to controlling your cortisol levels and maximising fat loss, where sometimes less means more. What I'm trying to say is, so many of us try to overdo it, myself included in the past, with constant high intensity type training with no actual programming to see if we're improving fitness. And then we use up all our glycogen stores during an intense training session and we stimulate an increase in our cortisol levels. It's not what we want. But if we were to build up more muscle via strength training, our muscles can hold on to more glycogen stores, which will in effect lower the likelihood of our glycogen stores from depleting during bouts of high intensity training. Furthermore, due to the fact strength training has a lower volume output as compared to that of circuit type training and cardio, less cortisol is released into the blood, which is great news for those who are already overweight or living under stress conditions. Now we can, however, still overdo the strength training by executing 5 or more days of heavy lifts, say 32 sets or more in a session with low rest periods. Again, this is unnecessary, and I stress less means more, especially for those who want to optimise their muscle strength and growth. I'm hoping from this presentation that you can see the massive benefits related to strength training compared to that of others, and why I'd encourage you all to bring some form of strength training into your routines. If you're a sports person or you enjoy circuit style training, trust me when I say you will benefit from it and you will enjoy the process too, especially when you notice an improvement in your body combined with becoming more physically able and hitting new PBs. If you have any questions related to this presentation, feel free to drop me a message. Or if you want to get started with a program, whether it's to cut weight or become stronger, then simply get in touch at any time.